yeah, you mentioned the word propaganda before,
Yeah,
and
right.
I suppose the second part of this video, I want to talk about my personal philosophy on how I feel like there's a groundswell of the population that believes in one narrative,
Yeah,
and that's largely driven with what they fed. So at ground level,
yeah,
yeah, they've fed all these things through social media, free to air TV,
yeah,
and it's almost like as the individual voice is lost. So
yeah.
I've got this concept of being able to transcend what's at ground level to what I call 8 Miles High, which
Okay.
is homage
Yeah,
to the 60s band that
right.
we've talked about before, which
Okay.
is the Byrds.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
what that means for me. A lot of people think that song's got different meanings,
yeah,
but for me personally,
yeah,
the song is a because it's like it's got an Eastern sound to it.
yeah,
It's actually deemed to be the first song that for the psychedelic movement.
yeah.
Got a very unusual I think it might have a sitar in it. I don't know
No,
if that's true.
it plays sitar music using a guitar.
Okay.
Yeah,
But what that song
yeah,
means to me is,
mm,
for me personally, is that an individual has to transcend to a
yeah,
level where they can see
yeah.
what reality is,
That's
and
right.
and cut out because they talk about signs in the street telling you where to go,
That's right. Yes,
and
exactly. Yeah,
yeah, so to me, I almost repeat this song,
yeah,
I sing the song
yeah,
to make sure that I take a deep breath. I may
yeah,
go for a walk in the bushland
yeah,
to try and get to that space which is at this higher transcended level to
yeah,
get a different perspective on important issues.
yeah.
But
Well, that's what we've done. We both have
first of
done
all,
it.
do you
Yeah.
know this song 8 Mile High?
Yes, it's
Because you're probably old.
yeah, because I grew up when it was there.
Okay.
It was one of the first. Um, I think the first psychedelic song I heard was White Rabbit by Jefferson Starship. It was Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah.
They were my first psychedelic band,
Yeah.
and I think the Byrds I'd heard more playing "Look Through Any Window" and like all that. I think the Byrds were like when I heard the Byrds were more wannabe Beatles,
Yeah.
Americans' answer to the Beatles. So I think that's why by 1966 the Byrds had been around for a while, and yeah, so they did transition into psychedelia, and there were so many psychedelic groups at that point. You know, you had In-A-Gadda Da Vida by Iron Butterfly. You had all that sort of really hardcore psychedelia,
Yeah.
and that was the music that was part of the Vietnam generation.
Yeah.
So the psychedelic music was really the background to the anti-war movement of the late 60s. So that's probably a relevant thing where you've taken that one song, 8 Miles High, but the whole gist of that psychedelic movement was about drop out, you know, tune in or whatever, you know, like get high.
Yeah.
That's why the song 8 Miles High was the death of the Byrds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Was it?
yeah, it was the last time they ever charted in the top 40,
Okay.
and it was actually then a great controversy started over whether it was about drugs. They interviewed the band members and said, no, it's about a flight.
Yeah, it's from New York to London or
Yeah,
something.
and what's the guy's name who wrote
Gene
it?
Clark.
Yeah, he had a shocking fear of flying.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that really touched him. And also, when the Byrds landed in London, they arrived to a hostile welcome. They had been sued by the English Byrds that were spelt with an I,
Yeah.
and the local music press had their backs up against this American pretenders coming in. So they arrived to a grey, cold, damp London.
Yeah.
It was fine when they flew out of wherever they flew out of LA or somewhere, and then they were 8 miles high. They're actually 6 miles high, but they call it 8 miles high as a homage to the 8 Days a Week Beatles song. So they then flew. If they were 8 miles high, they would have been flying in the military airspace,
Yeah.
and then they would have had something to worry about. So and I think we've all done this. We've all landed in, you and I both landed in London several times, and it's a bit up in the air. You're in a different world. You're being weighted on hand and foot by stewardesses.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, but what about the point
Yeah.
that, there is a lot of manipulation, which is, it's almost like what Hitler was bloody espousing, which is this en masse hypnosis.
Well, yeah, it's
So-
more to do with what England was doing.
So do you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that we've lost the ability to actually transcend the information that we've been given?
No, we've
and
got
to
it.
actually make better informed decisions, or we just
No, we haven't lost it. No, we've got it. I mean, what you didn't have in the Second World War was
Was there too much information then?
no, it was easier back then. In the Second World War, there were a handful of newspapers. There were tabloids and broadsheets, and all of the newspapers were beholden to the government. And so, if you let's be in England, because I could go to America or whatever. Let's focus on the World War II in England. Every paper, and it was just not even if you didn't buy the paper, you walked past a newsstand.
Yeah.
On every street corner in London, there would have been a newsstand in 1939, 1940. There would have been pictures of Hitler. The madman now invades Czechoslovakia. The brute Hitler has now invaded Poland. So there was wall-to-wall in World War II in the 30s and 40s, propaganda, and no way of having an alternate voice. So everyone, with few exceptions, the only people who would be a conscientious objector would be some highly educated people, quite often someone who spoke multiple languages, maybe had spent time in Germany, spent time in France. So those people would probably be getting papers or going to the embassies and reading in the reading room German newspapers, French newspapers, American, different news, and getting the news from both sides. But they were very rare. So most people back then, unlike today, where we have the internet. So that's why, for instance, someone like me, I'm not. I don't need to go up 8 miles high and come down
No.
to find the reality, because I'm hearing both sides of the information daily. I'm hearing the propaganda.
But isn't it true that the internet and its algorithms have got your searches figured out, and we're now just going to feed you what you want to hear? So aren't you?
No, because I don't have it aside. Because
Yeah.
I spend half of my time looking at sources like CNN, for example, which is hardcore left. I look at MSNBC, which is hardcore left.
Okay.
I want to know. I look at the BBC, which is government-owned propaganda, pure propaganda. So I look at what those, because I don't just go. I don't see if I just went on YouTube.
Yeah.
You may be correct, but I don't. I go on Twitter and on X, and on that, I am a follower.
Yeah.
I'm a follower of Starmer, the Prime Minister of England.
Okay.
How would I get every tweet that Starmer makes.
Yeah.
I'm a follower of these guys. I'm following what's happening in NATO.
Yeah.
I'm following what's happened with the EEC, with the WF, the World Economic Fund, the WHO. So I'm getting, but the thing is, the problem is not that there's not the information. The problem is that the average human being with an average IQ can't handle multiple streams of conflicting information.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people say, "Can you just give me the answer?"
This is more than what I was getting to.
Can you give me the answer?
Yeah.
What's the right answer? Who's the bad guy? Who has the black hat? Who has the white hat? Maybe they've each got grey hats.
Yeah.
They both got grey hats.
Yeah.
There's no
That's
white
not what
hat.
they want to hear.
Yeah.
But
because
that's
that
the
hurts.
reality of war, isn't it? War is messy.